So I'm on my way to the welders to pick the frame up. Earlier in the week I had stopped by the powder coater to get it sandblasted first so that I could get a better idea of what damage there might be from the rust. All in all, it looked pretty good. There was some spots, particularly along the bottom of the frame and on that very lower bracket that were eaten through, and the sandblasting took the metal out in those areas. So I directly took it to the welder to get those areas fixed, and we're going to pick it up now to see what it looks like. Here's the frame back from the welders. They were able to reinforce the area here and also picked up a couple of spaces here that were weak. And then back here, they actually put a plate on the other side that I'll show in a second, so some of that bled through. They said a lot of this metal back here was pretty thin. Here I think the material that was there kind of broke up, so they had to make it kind of fat. All of this though will be covered by the fender. If you look at the lines up about here, most of that then gets covered up, and once it's powder coated, it's going to fill in a lot of the gaps too. So pretty satisfied with how that came out. You can see how they also re-welded in a new plate here, and this is pretty thick. It's probably actually one of the strongest parts of the bike at this point, but they did a really good job given that there were a lot of weak points in the metal. But they just pulled the old plate off here and reinforced it a bit here as well. And if I show you on the inside, they welded an additional plate in here because the material back behind it was pretty weak. Once the powder coater goes to sandblast it one more time, probably would have put more holes through it. So that should definitely hold up, and looking forward to getting this coated. So I spent the most of the day with my new friend David building an engine in his garage out of different parts that he has. This of course isn't it. He let me borrow the shell of one because I wanted to make sure that some of the welding that I got done to this frame after I had it sandblasted didn't affect the fitment of the engine before I get it powder coated. And actually it's pretty close. I'm not sure if it's going to be able to show here, but there's only about a millimeter of space. You can see it right there between where that plate is and then the edge of where the two halves of the engine come together. So I'm going to go ahead and just shave out a small area there because the powder coat's going to add a little bit of additional length to that plate anyway. So I'm just going to cut that out to make sure that there isn't any interference there. But otherwise, the fitment looks pretty perfect. Let's see if we can go in on this side to show also how close it is. So you can see right there that the plate just is barely touching or almost touching, and actually I think the way that it's leaning more towards it because I don't have the bolts fully in. But if I had that one section there carved out, it should actually be fine as far as that plate not impacting the motor. I also picked up this swing arm from him that doesn't have the same problems that the other two swing arms I have do, where the bolt from the rear foot peg breaks and gets rusted in there. On my other 1976 version, I tried drilling it out, and it's a pain. So the fact that he had one that all the threads were good and there weren't any problems with rusted bolts stuck in the swing arm, I went ahead and picked that up. So I'm going to take this to the powder coater, as well as I still need to pull this piece apart, but get these three items shot, and the bike should be ready to start being assembled. So I'm pulling off the front stanchion so that I can have the rest of the front fork powder coated, but I just wanted to go over something that I was trying to figure out in case it helps anybody else out as far as how to disassemble these. So this front fork guide cap here is threaded, that you can see here. I'm not sure if there's a special tool that you're supposed to be able to have, some type of spanner wrench, but there's two holes on each side, and I found what worked for me was using a punch and just angling it in like this and then hitting this side with a hammer so that it starts to unthread it, and then you can just get the rest by hand. But just wanted to explain how they come out. So just there's the bolt at the top that has a washer. You pull that out and it can slide up a bit, and then here it's a matter of unscrewing this, and then the whole assembly just slides out. And these forks overall seem to be in pretty good condition. The rust on the front of this stanchion might not be able to be repaired. I'll try to see how good I can polish it up, but I may end up just replacing the front part of the fork to something that's new. I went ahead and grinded down some of the welds to make them a little more flush and fit the contour of the side part of the frame here. Alright, I've got all the parts prepared for powder coat on Monday. Something old, something new, something blue. So I was able to pick up my frame today from the powder coaters. Decided to go with the candy blue-green color. This model came in 3 different colors. It came in the candy orange, candy blue, and this candy blue-green. This frame itself I think was originally candy orange that I found once I took off a couple of the stickers and found some of the original color. But I decided to go with the candy blue-green just because I preferred it. To get the color right, I bought this third-party chain guard that came in the candy blue-green color and asked them to match that as best as possible, and what came out is actually very close. I'm actually curious because the headlight bucket is the one thing that I wasn't able to powder coat since it's plastic. But I'm going to go ahead and buy one that's in the candy blue color to see how close it actually is. Alternatively, if that doesn't work out, I could do a chrome one, but on this build I'm hoping to get it as close to OEM as possible. I'm going to do the Honda engine and keep this all original parts. But the color came out really well. There's a really nice candy color and a slight metal flake in this. But for parts that are 50 years old, this bike is going to, like the last one, look pretty new. So the next steps in this project are going to be to finish building out this front shock assembly. The arms and most of the internal components are actually in pretty good shape, but does have a little bit of rusting and pitting on the lower legs. So I'm going to order new lower legs, new fork gaiters, and the nut that goes at the bottom of the shock here. So thanks for watching and stay tuned.